الحمد لله الذي أرسل رسوله بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على الدين كله وكفى بالله شهيدا وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له إقرارا به وتوحيدا وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه وسلم تسليما مزيدا أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. Tonight's class, we'll continue to read from wal-Marjan, compilation of hadiths from Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslim by Muhammad Fawad Abdul Baqi rahimahullah. We reach page 179 of volume 1, chapter 35, for those who are following in Arabic and in English, specifically in English. Chapter 35 says, Bab al-Qirati fi subhi wal-Maghrib. Reciting aloud in the Fajr and Maghrib prayer. Reciting aloud in the Fajr and Maghrib prayer. حديث أبي برزة رضي الله عنه قال كان النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يصلي الصبح وأحدنا يعرف جليسه ويقرأ فيها ما بين 60 إلى 100 ويصلي الظهر إذا زالت الشمس والعصر وأحدنا يذهب إلى أقصى المدينة ثم يرجع والشمس حية ولا يبالي بتأخير العشاء إلى ثلث الليل. حديث أم الفضل عن ابن عباس رضي الله عنهما أنه قال إن أم الفضل سمعته وهو يقرأ والمرسلات عرفا فقالت يا بني والله لقد ذكرتني بقراءتك هذه السورة إنها لآخر ما سمعت من رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقرأ بها في المغرب. حديث جبير بن مطعم رضي الله عنه أنه قال سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقرأ في المغرب بالطور. Says chapter 35, reciting aloud in the Fajr and Maghrib prayer. Hadith 262 is narrated by Abu Barza radiallahu anhu, Allah be pleased with him. The Prophet ﷺ used to offer the Fajr early morning prayer when one could recognize the person sitting by him. And it says here between brackets, after the Salat prayer. After the Salat prayer. And he used to recite in the Salah between 60 to 100 ayat, verses of the Quran. He used to offer the Dhuhr prayer as soon as the sun declined, at noon, and the Asr at a time when a man might go and return to the farthest place in Al-Medina and find the sun still hot. The sub-narrator forgot what was said about the Maghrib prayer. He did not mind delaying the Isha prayer to 1/3 of the night. Hadith number 263 is narrated by Ibn Abbas. My mother, al-Fadl, heard me reciting wal-Mursalati Urfa, Surah 77, and said, "O my son, by Allah, your recitation made me remember that it was the last surah I heard from Allah's Messenger ﷺ. He recited it in the Maghrib prayer." Hadith 264 is narrated by Jubair bin Mut'im radiyallahu anhu. I heard Allah's Messenger ﷺ reciting At-Tur, Surah 52 in the Maghrib prayer. So we have three narrations with us. The first is Abu Barza. Number 2 is al-Fadl coming from Ibn Abbas. And number 3 is Jubair ibn Mut'im radiyallahu ta'ala an al-Jami'. May Allah be pleased with all of these companions, which all prove and show one main lesson and one main fiqh ruling, and that is a continuation of describing the Prophet ﷺ's mode of recitation in these prayers. A continuation of how the Prophet ﷺ recited in the 5 daily prayers. We say Sifa Salah, description of the Prophet's prayer. This is description of the Prophet's prayer. How the Messenger of Allah ﷺ recited in Salatul Al-Fajr, Al-Subh, Salatul Dhuhr, Salatul Asr, Salatul Isha, Salatul Maghrib, etc. What did he do? How long did he recite? What surahs did he recite? Naam? Or did he make the salah in a short manner, quick easy upon the people? Was it drawn out? What were the specific surahs that he recited, etc.? Now it's a continuation. So the first hadith is narrated by Abu Barza radiallahu anhu. And it says that the Prophet would pray Salat the Fajr prayer, and one of us would know his jalis, the one he was sitting next to, i.e. he could see him, i.e. there was no electricity in Medina. The candles, the torches, these things were relatively scarce and relatively limited. It wasn't too much lighting in Medina. When the Fajr prayer came, there wasn't too much lighting. There weren't too many oil lamps. There weren't too many torches or candles. So the Prophet would make Salat al-Fajr, and it was previously too dark to see who was sitting next to you. Here's the fork in the road now. When the Prophet made the Fajr, when he began Fajr, or when he finished Fajr, it was light enough to see who was sitting next to you. That's the fork in the road with the translation. Everybody understand this? It's so dark that I can barely distinguish exactly who's sitting next to me. Everybody understand this? When is that? Is that the time in which the Messenger of Allah made the Fajr prayer to begin it, to initiate it, to commence it? Or he started when it was dark, and by the time they were finished, it was light enough to what? See the person next to you. Everybody clear on this? There's a world of difference between the two. So it says here in Arabic, كان النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يصلي الصبح وأحدنا يعرف جليسه, and one of us would know his jalis, his companion. In Arabic, the asl, we're not getting into the sharh yet, but the asl is that this is talking about when? Is that the Prophet ﷺ began the salah at that time and not ended. That's what's understood from that in Arabic. The Prophet would lead the Fajr and one of us would in the beginning and not at the end. And Allah knows best. See, then it says, وَيَقْرَأُ فِيهَا مَا بَيْنَ السِّتِّينَ إِلَى الْمِئَةِ, and therein he will recite between 60 and what? 100. Translation is extremely confusing once more. It says here to offer the Fajr early morning. Then it says the person sitting by him after the Salat prayer. Then it says here ayat, verses of the Quran. The translations, the brackets, the parentheses do nothing but further what? Confuse and complicate the translation. Then says وَيُصَلِّ الظُّهْرَ إِذَا زَالَتِ الشَّمْسِ, and he would offer the dhuhr prayer as soon as the sun declined, as soon as the sun began to lean, i.e. from its zenith. It has nothing to do with the recitation, but that's talking about the mawaqit, the times of the prayer. When does Salat al-Dhuhr come in? The sun rises, stands still. Then it begins to what? Starts to decline towards the west, gradually. Once it starts its declining, that is when it's time for what? Dhuhr prayer. Not before that. That is when it's time for what? Dhuhr prayer. That's nothing to do with the mode of recitation. Salat al-Dhuhr comes in when the sun begins to what? Decline towards its west, as it was explained. Moving forward. وَالْعَصْرَ وَأَحَدُنَا يَذْهَبُ إِلَىٰ أَقْصَى الْمَدِينَةِ ثُمَّ يَرْجِعُ وَالشَّمْسُ حَيًّا, and he would also make Asr prayer. And when he would finish the prayer, he finished the prayer in such a quick manner. He prayed Salat al-Asr in such an early time in which a person can leave his masjid, go to the furthest part of Medina, come back to the Prophet's masjid, and it still was what? Piercing. The sun was still beaming on you. And that has nothing to do with our specific topic of qira'ah. That's another issue pertaining to when is Salat al-Asr to be offered. When is Salat al-Asr to be what? Everybody understand this? Well, that's a long issue, which we've explained before with regards to most of the ulama and predominantly the Hanafi ulama, the Hanafi fuqaha, the madhab al-Hanafi. Predominantly, we said. I'm not saying they're the only ones who took that view. Nor not saying that every single Hanafi agrees with that opinion. But they had the view that the Salat al-Asr should be what? Delayed. It should be delayed. Regardless of the technicalities, the shadow, to shadow, to shadow, it should be what? Delayed. And the rest of the ulama, those who didn't take that view, they held the view that the Asr should be what? As soon as it comes in. Based off of this hadith and what? Other texts. That the sun was still what? Hayya, alive. Still was hot. As the closer you get to Salat al-Maghrib, the cooler it gets and the less fierce the sun is. You can look up into the sky, it's not as beaming on you as it previously was. Moving forward. Last but not least, he says what? وَلَا يُبَالِي بِتَأْخِيرِ الْعِشَاءِ إِلَى ثُلُثِ اللَّيْلِ. And the Prophet wouldn't, if he had to make Salat al-Isha towards the end of the night, it wouldn't bother him at all. Is that he never made Salat al-Isha what? As soon as it what? Came in. So this last half of the hadith is not necessarily the main thing that we want to deal with, because this pertains to al-mawaqit, the timetable of the Salah. Now, as we've explained before, with regards to when does Isha come in, it depends on the what? The comfort of the people. It also goes to show and prove that the true application of Islam, the true application of Islam cannot be achieved in a secular and nominal country. It cannot be. Wherever this country is, whether it's in the West or in the Middle East. The true application of Islam can only be fully accomplished in a state, and it's just pure Sharia. In which work, sleep, marriage, buying, selling, school, everything orbits around what? Everybody understand this? In which the people going to work, not going to work, people having off, people's homes is based off of what? The Islam. Whereas the Imam says the people haven't come yet, the people are going to come. Everybody understand this? If you live in America or Canada or in other countries in the Middle East, it's a time schedule. You have to go to work the next morning. I can't be late. I have to go to sleep. I have to do this. Everybody understand this? Everything is based off of what? And not around Islam, but time of dunya. Everybody clear on this or not? So the Imam is supposed to look for Isha and see when the people what? Congregate. They come early, we make Isha early. They come a little late, and we what? A woman praying in the house who doesn't have to go to the masjid, she can make Isha when? A man who's sick or ill, someone who doesn't have to go to the masjid because the masjid is too far from him, or for argument's sake, a man who holds the opinion that Salat al-Jama'ah isn't obligatory. A man who holds the opinion that Salat al-Jama'ah what? Isn't obligatory. He chooses to pray in his house. He doesn't have to make Isha at when it comes in. He says, I want to make it in the preferred time, which is when? Everybody clear on this? Right, moving forward. Then we have the hadith of al-Fadl that comes from Ibn Abbas radiyallahu ta'ala anhuma, in which the Prophet recited wal-Mursalati urfan, which is considered to be relatively a long surah. It's not long like Baqarah, Nisa, Al-Imran, but it isn't like Wattini wa Zaytun. Lam yakun alladhina kafaru min ahli. It's over a page. So this shows us, like we previously mentioned, is that it's permissible to read a long surah when? In Salat al-Maghrib. And it's not haram or disliked. It's permissible to read a surah that has some type of relative length when? In Maghrib. Everybody clear on this? And there's no contradiction between this hadith and the hadith of Rafi ibn Khadij and others, in which they talk about how the Prophet led the Salah after Masjid and it wasn't pitch black dark yet. And as we explained last week from Nawawi's Kalam, is that the Prophet he looked towards which was what? هذا هو. From time to time, a formless fiqh. Not rigid, stuck and solid. It has to be like this. It can't be like that. It's time for the Iqamah. It's time for the Isha. You led the Salat too long. You didn't lead the Salat long enough. You keep reciting these short surahs from Juz Amma. That's all you know. You keep reciting the long surah al-Baqarah. Why are you trying to impress the people? So our mindset in most masjids today. In most what? Masjids today. Everybody understand this? Everybody clear on this or not? Moving forward. She said, Ya Bunay, oh my son, Wallahi, the recitation that you just made, it reminded me of the last thing I heard from the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Ibn Abbas's practice reminded her of Muhammad's practice. Everybody understand this? So it goes to show another issue of what the Prophet, another example of how the Prophet recited when? In Maghrib and in the 5 daily prayers. Short, long, etc. Moving forward, last but not least, is the hadith of Jubayr ibn Mut'im radiallahu anhu, and when she said, I heard the Messenger of Allah sallallahu reciting At-Tur in Salat al-Maghrib. And Surah At-Tur is relatively a what? A long surah. It's not short. Tabbat yada wa shamsi wa duhaha wa duha is relatively a what? A long surah. Proving exactly what the hadith of al-Fadl has what? Proved that it's permissible to recite a what? A long surah in Salat al-Maghrib. And that's from the Sunnah as well. Everybody understand the Sunnah? Tayyib. An-Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala, he says regarding this chapter in Sahih Muslim, Tayyib. We'll move forward inshallah to the next chapter. Before we read Bidhnillahi Azza wa Jal, with regards to the Sharh of Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala. Tayyib. Let's see. Tayyib. The last thing we read from Nawawi's Sharh was regarding Dhuhr and Asr. It was pertaining to long surahs and short surahs. Naam, how the Prophet's prayer was short, but it still was what? Complete. Naam. I believe we left off, catching up from his Sharh. It says here, طيب وليبين أن القراءة في مزاد الفاتحة لا تقدير فيها من حيث الاشتراط بل يجوز قليلها وكثيرها وإنما المشترط الفاتحة ولهذا اتفقت الرواية عليها واختلف. طيب خير. About long and short, we explained that in detail. نعم. طيب. Then we have another issue with regards to what's best, reciting a short surah, a complete surah, or reciting the length of that surah from a longer surah. Five ayat of a short surah, or reciting 5 ayats from Surah Al-Baqarah, or 1 ayat, which is the length and size of what? The 5 ayats. That's an issue in itself. Tayyib. Then it says here, Tayyib. He says here, listen carefully. وأما اختلاف قدر القراءة في الصلوات فعند العلماء على ظاهره قالوا فالسنة أن يقرأ في الصبح والظهر بطوال المفصل وتكون الصبح أطول وفي العشاء والعصر بأوساطه وفي المغرب بقصاره. وقالوا والحكمة في إطالة الصبح والظهر أنهما في وقت غفلة بالنوم آخر الليل وفي القائلة فيطولهما ليدركهما المتأخر بغفلة ونحوها. والعصر ليست كذلك بل تفعل في وقت تعب أهل الأعمال فخففت عن ذلك. والمغرب ضيقة الوقت فاحتيج إلى زيادة تخفيفها لذلك ولحاجة الناس إلى عشاء صائمهم وضيفهم. والعشاء في وقت غلبة النوم والنعاس ولكن وقتها واسع فأشبهت العصر أو فأشبهت العصر والله أعلم. He says here, as far as how much Quran to read in these prayers, and when the Prophet ﷺ read this surah, that surah, the different versions that we've read, he says, then it as it states, is ala dhahirihi. The sunnah regarding Fajr prayer and Dhuhr prayer is to read Tiwal al-Mufassal. What is Mufassal? If we didn't do our homework assignment, what is Mufassal? From Surah Qaf to Surah An-Nas. Qaf is number what surah in the Mus'haf? 50. So what does the word Mufassal mean? What does the word Mufassal mean? Short, summarize. Short verses. What does the word Fasal mean? Fasl is basically something that's in between another. A fasl, a barrier, a wall. So mufassal means is that the surah has a lot or a little bit of what? Stops. Mufassal. So the mufassal, whether they're considered long, short, or in the middle, they is a further category inside of the what? Mufassal. So from Qaf to Nas, is that just one category? From one aspect it is. He said that's the mufassal. But within from Qaf to Nas, they're considered how many categories? 3. Long mufassal, medium mufassal, and what? Short mufassal. Everybody understand this? Within the Qaf to Nas is what? It's further divided. It's divided further into 3 further categories. 3 more categories. Everybody understand this? Tiwal, Awsat, and Qisar. Everybody understand this? Are we clear on this or not? Just like anything else in life. You have a great athlete, the great athletes, and then you have the what? The elites. Everybody understand this? It's a category within a what? Category. Everybody understand this? A category within a what? Categories. People that are wealthy and rich. Millionaires. Then we have what? Multi-millionaires. Then we have what? Billionaires. Then what heck is that? Everybody understand this? Within, they're all under the category of what? Rich. Wealthy. But there are levels within what? That class, that group. Everybody understand this? Everybody understand the metaphor we're trying to make? There are categories within the what? Within the class. Everybody got this or not? Everybody understand this? So he says from Qaf to Nas. From one aspect, that's how many categories? 1. And from another aspect, how many categories are within from Qaf to Nas? 3. The surahs that are Tiwal, the long from this section. Surahs that are what? In the middle. Surahs that are what? Qisar, very short. Everybody clear on this or not? Everybody understand this? So Nawawi, he says, as he says the sunnah, it's not mandatory, but the sunnah in Fajr prayer and Dhuhr prayer is that one should read from the Tiwal al-Mufassal, the longer Mufassals. What surahs are those? Where would you start? Obviously, you're going to start from where? From Qaf. That's common sense. But where do you stop? You got to do better assignment, better research, better what? Better research. That's not good enough just to know what you two brothers mentioned. Tayyip, everybody understand this? He then says, and in Isha and Asr, one should read from the what? Mid-length Mufassal. Isha and Asr to read from the what? Isha and Asr to read from the what? Mid-length Mufassal. Where does that start?
From after the 7th one to Qaf. From the 8th surah to Qaf.
Moving forward. He says, as far as Maghrib, then the sunnah is to recite in Maghrib the what? Qisar. There you go. These things, they what? They help you up. The hand movements, the sound effects, it helps you what? Get it easier, no doubt. Qisar is when? Maghrib. Is it haram to read the Qisar in Isha? No. Is it haram to read a long surah in Maghrib? No. But that which is preferred, preferable, that which is recommended, is that what? In the Fajr, or in the Maghrib, excuse me. What's the wisdom behind this? Nawawi says, they say, qalu, yani, the ulama before Nawawi, they say, the wisdom behind making Salatul Subh and Dhuhr long is because of the time in which the people are heedless. Relatively heedless, meaning people are waking up from their naps or from sleep at night. So to make the salat longer for the people to what? Wake up, yawn, make wudu, make ghusl, get dressed, and what? Come to the congregation. Everybody understand this? He says, and Asr is not like that. He says, Asr is a time in which the people who are working are what? Their energy is waning. They've been working all day. So the prayer is made to be what? Short and simple, easy upon them. Number 3, Maghrib, he says, ضيقة الوقت. The time of Maghrib is when? It's very limited. Very limited. So therefore, that's the reason to make it even shorter. Even what? Even shorter than what? Asr. And not what? Not Dhuhr and Fajr. Everybody clear on this or not? Moving forward. It says here, also the people, they need to eat. They need to break their fast. People are hungry. They need to feed their guests now. And he says, Salat al-Isha is when the people are ready to go to sleep. They're tired. So, but the difference between Isha and Maghrib is what? Is that the time is greater. So it's similar to what prayer? Asr. It's similar to what? Asr. Have I got this? Tahid. Focus. You gotta what? Gotta concentrate. You gotta give it your all. Moving forward. But we really need to repeat this again. I know what he says. The sunnah is with regards to, you gotta break down them prayers. How many categories of prayers do we have now? All right. What group goes with what group? First, start off with 2. Those 2 are what? Fajr and Dhuhr. Then we have how many left? 3. How do we break those prayers down? Asr and Isha. Then by itself is when? Maghrib. Everybody got it or not? The first categorization is what? What prayers? Fajr and Dhuhr. They are together. Fajr and when? Dhuhr. Then we have what? Isha and Asr, or Asr and Isha. Asr and when? Isha. The prayer that stands by itself is when? Maghrib. What is to be recited in Dhuhr and Fajr? Tiwal al-Mufassal. These surahs, the whole entire fiqh of the recitation of Salah is based off, we're only talking about what's recommended and not obligatory, is based off of when? Of what? What part of the Quran? Mufassal. So everything else is excluded. Is when? Excluded. We're only dealing with what? Mufassal. From Qaf to when? Nas. Everybody understand this? Fajr and Dhuhr, what recitation? The long surahs from Mufassal. But we don't know that if we didn't do good enough research. Our homework is poor. So we don't know what's long, what's short, what's in the middle. Is that fair to say? Correct. As I said last class, you can't have the proper fiqh. From one thing you learn what? 10,000 what? Things. What is considered tiwal? What's the long mufassal? We don't know. So we're wasting our time until we do better research. For sure, we know قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ النَّاسِ قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ الْفَلَقِ قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ. We know for sure that these are what? Qisar. The short mufassal. We know that for sure. وَيْلٌ لِكُلِّ هُمَزَةٍ لُمَزَةٍ أَلَمْ تَرَ كَيْفَ فَعَلَ رَبُّكَ بِأَصْحَابِ الْفِيلِ. We know that what? For sure. وَالْعَصْرِ إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ. We know for sure that's what? The short mufassal. But what is the middle? And what is the long? Where does it start? When does it when? End. Everybody got this or not? You understand this or not? Once we know that, then we can make the proper application of Muhammad's way with regards to the prayers. Everybody understand this or not? And from time to time, the Imam can mix it up, recite from this surah, recite from that surah, according to how he sees fit. We got this or not, guys? Everybody understand this? So this briefly shows us the tremendous responsibility of claiming that you're on the sunnah. The tremendous what? Responsibility is that it requires somewhat study. It requires efforts. It requires fiqh. You got to know what you're talking about. Everybody understand this? And it's not just I do something outward and I'm on the sunnah and then you're not. Everybody understand this? The sunnah is everything. From how you dress, how you walk, how you talk, how you eat, how you pray, how you fast, how you make hajj. What zakat did the Prophet give? That's all what? The sunnah of the Prophet. From that which is obligatory and that which is recommended. That's all from the what? The sunnah. Everybody understand this? So claiming that you're on the sunnah and saying that someone isn't on the sunnah is a what? It's something that you got to be mindful of. Everybody, you have to be what? Mindful of. And just because you practice one aspect of the sunnah and another masjid doesn't mean that you're on it and they're what? Everybody understand this? Because they may be implementing something that's from the sunnah that you're not. So who wins? Everybody get this or not? Let alone a jama'ah, a group. This group is upon the way of the Salaf as-Salih and this group isn't. Why? Because we say this and we say that. Okay, sahih. But this group, they do things that's also from the way of the what? The Salaf as well. That you don't do. Everybody understand this? So what's important is when a person makes the sunnah his constitution. That's what we start off with. That's what we end with. What's important is a person tries. They make it the necessary effort. What's important is that inshallah it outweighs. We're doing more practice, more acts of the sunnah than acts of bid'ah. Inshallah, no bid'ah, hopefully. We're practicing more of the sunnah and just this culture, this opinion, and this imam. And this group or this masjid may what? May not have that percentage. Let alone the constitution is the what? It's the sunnah. Everybody got this or not? It's a huge difference between the two. Everybody understand this or not? A country that makes the constitution of Sharia, and they have some mistakes, they have some flaws. That's one thing. That's not like the country in which the constitution is a man-made law. Man-made, put-together constitution in which the basic threads is against the Sharia. This country is not on the Sharia. Even though it does somewhat, aspects from there. Everybody got this or not? So the sunnah is supposed to be the constitution. This is what we want to base our deen off of. This is how we want to practice, how we want to pray, how we want to live, inshallah, to the best of our ability. Everybody got this or not? So saying that you're on the sunnah, claiming it, it necessitates what? Efforts. It's not a joke. It's not a small, easy thing. Everybody got this or not? Tayyib, khairan, inshallah. Moving forward. And this also goes to show what we previously mentioned with regards to the importance of practicing Islam in an Islamic environment. All of those 5 daily prayers are based off of what? Everybody being Muslim. Everybody being what? Muslim. Not no, I have Jummah off today. Or I got to get back to work. So the khutbah has to start at 1 p.m. and end when? 1:30 because brothers have to go back to work. It's supposed to be a land in which everybody is what? Making Jumu'ah. We have merchants, brothers that are selling things, sisters, but in general, you have Jumu'ah what? A vacation, a holiday. Everybody got this or not? And a few non-Muslims that live in this country are Ahlul Dhimma. The Jews and the Christians, the Zoroastrians that are beneath the Muslims. They pay jizya, and they are not the dominant force in the country at all. You can work today if you want. Everybody understand this or not? Just like in a Christian society, most stores are closed on Sunday. You can open up your shop if you want. You can shop, but most places are what? Closed on Sunday. Everybody got this or not? Huh? Chick-fil-A. Tayyib, you say close when? On Sunday. Everybody understand this or not? So the importance of having a thorough application of Islam where what? In an Islamic environment. There's some things of the deen that we can do and that we can practice. As a whole, 100%, certain things are impossible unless there's when? Living where? Everybody understand this or not? Tayyib, khairan, inshallah. Let's move forward. Chapter 36, the author says, باب القراءة في العشاء. حديث البراء رضي الله عنه أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم كان في سفر فقرأ في العشاء في إحدى الركعتين بالتين والزيتون. حديث جابر بن عبد الله رضي الله عنهما أن معاذ بن جبل رضي الله عنه كان يصلي مع النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ثم يأتي قومه فيصلي بهم الصلاة فقرأ بهم البقرة قال فتجوز رجل فصلى صلاة خفيفة فبلغ ذلك معاذا فقال إنه منافق فبلغ ذلك الرجل فأتى النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فقال يا رسول الله إنا قوم نعمل بأيدينا ونسقي بنواضحنا وأن معاذا صلى بنا البارحة فقرأ البقرة فتجوزت فزعم أني منافق فقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يا معاذ أفتان أنت ثلاثة اقرأ والشمس وضحاها وسبح اسم ربك الأعلى ونحوها. Chapter 36 says, Recitation allowed in the Isha prayer. Recitation allowed in the Isha prayer. Hadith 265 is narrated by Al-Bara radiallahu anhu. The Prophet ﷺ was on a journey and recited in one of the first rak'ah of the Isha prayer, Wat-tini was-zaytuni, Surah 95. Hadith 266, narrated Jabir ibn Abdullah, or it says bin Abdullah, radiallahu anhuma. Mu'adh bin Jabal used to offer salat, prayer, with the Prophet ﷺ, and then go to lead his people in salat. Once he led the people in salat and recited Surah Al-Baqarah, a man left the row of the people of the praying people and offered a light prayer separately and went away. When Mu'adh came to know about it, he said, "That man is a hypocrite." Later that man heard what Mu'adh said about him. So he came to the Prophet ﷺ and said, "O Allah's Messenger, we are a people who work with our own hands and irrigate our farms with our camels. Last night Mu'adh led us in Isha prayer and he recited Surah Al-Baqarah. So I offered my prayer separately, and because of that, he accused me of being a hypocrite." The Prophet ﷺ called Mu'adh and said thrice, "O Mu'adh, are you putting the people to trial?" Recite Wash-Shamsi wa-Duhaha, Surah 91, or Sabbih Ismi Rabbika al-A'la, Surah 87, or the like. Chapter 36 is no different than chapter 35, no different from chapter 34. A description of the Prophet's what? Recitation of Salah, his prayer. Something that he himself did, or something that he what? Acknowledged, legislated. Everybody understand this? They both hold the same. Something the Prophet ﷺ did in the Salah in front of the Sahaba. Something the Prophet ﷺ told the Sahaba to do, forbade the Sahaba from doing with regards to the mode of what? Recitation in the 5 daily prayers. Not witr, not the night prayer, but the what? 5 daily. Tayyib. Clear on that. Hadith 265 is narrated by Al-Bara bin Azib radiallahu anhuma, which shows what we previously explained. Wat-tini was-zaytun, from the what? Khisar al-Mufassal. 266 is the narration of Jabir bin Abdullah radiallahu anhuma, in which we have a few issues in the translation. Basically, Mu'adh radiallahu anhu, he would pray with the Prophet, i.e. the faridah, the mandatory prayer. He would make the what? The mandatory prayer with the Prophet. And then he would go to his own village, his own small community, and lead them in the Isha prayer. He was making a what? Nafal. He was the Imam making the what prayer? Nafal, the supererogatory prayer. There's no 2 Ishas in one day, one night. His faridah was with who? Muhammad. The mandatory Isha, how many Ishas are there in one day? 2, right? Just 1. So he only prayed with the Prophet what? The faridah. And when he went to his people, he prayed the what? The nafil. But he was the Imam. So he recited Surah Al-Baqarah. The whole Baqarah, a part of Baqarah al-Muhim, he led the Salah what? He just, all you gotta do is just shake your head, says Baqarah. His Baqarah is notorious reputation for being what? Long. Everyone understand this? So he recited a good portion of what? Surah Al-Baqarah. So the man, instead of praying behind Mu'adh, he left the Salah. And he prayed what? His own short prayer. Because? No. Because what? He hated the Quran?
No, it was too long.
Why? What's about it being too long? Too long.
It was too long because he was tired.
He was worn out. He worked a real job, as they say, with his hands. Everybody understand this? And he also was a farmer. He irrigated his own land with camels. A great deal of effort went into working on those farms. So I have to go back and sleep. I have to eat. I have to look after my irrigation. I have to feed the camels. I have to spend time with my family. I've been working all day. I'm tired. So he left the Salah. When Mu'adh heard about that, he said the man is a what? Waliyadhu billah, a munafiq. What person would leave the Salah? Let alone the Salah. I'm the what?
Imam.
No, deeper than the Imam. Brother Imam.
Amen.
No, I'm the deputy of...
Accountability.
Ya Allah. Of Rasulullah. The Messenger of Allah what? Aywa. Everybody got this or not? That's greater than being Imam, I'm the deputy of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And you leave the Salah. And these are what? munafiq. So the man complained to the Prophet ﷺ, and he told the man what Mu'adh had said about him. And in translation here, it says, are you putting the people to trial? It doesn't say anything. In Arabic, it says thalathan, and that's a huge difference. He said that word what? 3 times. Afatan, are you a troublemaker? And this is Mu'adh, who was one of the most knowledgeable of the companions of the halal and the haram, from the ulama of the Sahaba. And he said, are you making trouble for the people? Are you putting a hardship on the people? And then after the Prophet ﷺ censured him, he gave him the what? Solution. So, the main fiqh ruling from this hadith is what, Khalid? He told him to recite what? Relatively what? Short surahs from the Mufassal. Everybody clear on this or not? He told him to recite the what? Everybody understand this? And don't recite the what? What class is Surah Al-Baqarah considered to be in? Long. That's an easy question or easy answer, but it's a specific name they have. As-Sab'u Tiwal, the 7 long, which are? Start again. He said Al-Baqarah. Al-Baqarah. Al-Imran. Al-Nisa. Al-Ma'idah. Al-An'am. Out of how many of those right there? 6. Faddal. What's the 7th? He said out of already. Surah 8 is what? Tayyib. We got to sharpen up, right? Jazakallah khairan. Fight. Please go home tonight and what? Shorten your grip. This is too long. You got to shorten it. Tayyib. Moving forward. So the Prophet ﷺ, he told him to recite surahs that were what? Tayyib. That's the highlighting point from the hadith. That's the what? That's the highlighting point from the fiqh of this hadith. This hadith is a tremendous example of the Prophet ﷺ's tarbiyah. How he cultivated his companions, taught them and nurtured them through harshness and also through softness, both harsh and what? And soft. And this hadith also teaches us some of the pillars of da'wah. Some of the what? Pillars of da'wah. Basic fundamental concepts of what? One's da'wah. And also serving the people. And that is, the people are supposed to what? Come first. The benefit of the people. The imam is supposed to make the what? The benefit of the people, the apple of his eye. Serving the community. Everybody understand this? What's good for what? Me or what? Them. What they need. What's beneficial for them. And never ever to neglect or abandon their needs as Muslims, as worshippers, as human what? Beings. As what? Human beings. They're 9 to 5 Muslims, ya akhi. Your congregation is not a congregation of tulab al-ilm, of mashayikh. They're 9 to 5 Muslims. They have jobs, they work, they pay bills. Be mindful of that. Be what? Be mindful of that. Doesn't mean you follow their desires. It doesn't mean you compromise for them if it's illegitimate compromising. As far as legitimate compromise, then that's from the deen as well. To compromise something that's from the sharia, that's okay. This is preferable. It's not haram. I'll leave it off for the purpose of. Everybody understand this? This is detail with regards to that. What's important is to look after the needs of the people as what? Human beings. They have work, they have sleep. Everybody understand this? Tayyib. Also, we see here is that the Prophet ﷺ, he did not allow Mu'adh to put a hardship upon the people, nor did he allow Mu'adh to just say this man was a munafiq. Nor did he say that he wasn't a munafiq. That's not the point. How do you know he's a munafiq, Mu'adh? Just because he didn't pray behind you? And he didn't want to miss out on sleep and food or whatever? Is that your dalil he's a munafiq? How do you know that? He didn't even involve himself in the what? The details of him being or not being a munafiq. Pay close attention. That's not what's important right now. Do you know he's a munafiq? If you don't, then don't say that. And even if he was, or he is, or he isn't, that's not the point. You are at fault. You are what? At fault. Everybody understand this? What would we do today? What would we say today if this was us? We would defend the guy. No, he is a munafiq. Mu'adh is right. Everybody understand this? We would deal with everything except for the what? The issue at hand. The core. That's us today. And this is why we live the way we live. Everybody understand this? The brother make this statement, didn't make this statement, so on and so forth. Sheikh Fulan, he rebuked him, he this, he kada. Was the statement correct or incorrect? And why? Prove it. Bid-dalil. Barhan ala qawlik ya tayyib. Prove what you're saying. Everybody understand this? Or disprove it. What did he say? What? He said believe it or believe what you want. This what? Prove it or disprove it. Everybody understand this? So we run around the haqiqah, the reality of things, by calling people names, by status. Because the sheikh said it, it's automatically the haqq. Because a puny da'iyah said it, it's automatically what? Batil. No, it can't be the haqq. Everybody understand this? Instead of actually dealing with the what? The kernel. Everybody clear this or not? So the Prophet ﷺ, he called Mu'adh, he asked him, was he a fatan? Are you a fitna maker? And he said it where? On the minbar? In his face. He said it to what? His face. So this teaches us also about dawah. Don't talk about people behind their backs. Say it to someone's what? Face. People that talk about them day and night. You see him in the supermarket. You see him in Walgreens. You see somewhere, where else? Walmart. Something. Name another location you may go. At the bank. Tayyib. See the brother? Yeah. Turns away. I never said that about you. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. I just watched hadithdisciple the other day, man. How many that class was major? This is what they say. See you in your face, behind your back. Kada. Or some brothers even worse than that. They'll talk about you like a dog behind their back. You see them, you confront them. I won't argue with you. I do not argue with the Ahlul Bidah. I do not argue with the people of innovations. You see them, I want to have a talk. Me and you. Nah, no, not today. If you have something to say, then you should do what? Say it to the person's face. I understand it's easy to be a thumb thug, as they say, to type stuff, to hide behind a computer screen, talk about somebody. Someone gets called out and challenged. What do? What do you hear the people say in response? What? Nothing. Everybody understand this? Also, the concept of fixing a problem at the source of the problem. To fix the problem when or where? At the source. And there was no need for him to try to embarrass Mu'adh and discredit Mu'adh and censure Mu'adh and make a campaign against Mu'adh as the people who do what? Today. So what's the dalil that you can talk about somebody by their name and mention them and refute them by their name? What's the dalil from Kitab and Sunnah? What the Salaf al-Salih did, what the ulama of Hadith did, we're not saying that's wrong, but I want you to prove, to show me, your Islamic scholastics, that you can mention somebody by their name, a Muslim. Not tabat yada abi lahabin wa tab, wa inna fir'auna la'alin. No, a Muslim. Pharaoh or Abu Lahab in the Quran. A Muslim, that you can talk about a Muslim by name in public. What's the dalil from Kitab and Sunnah? Are you understanding this? Can you prove that or not? Are you clear this or not? The ulama are not going to be in the grave with you. The Salaf al-Salih are not going to be in the grave with you. When those angels come and ask you, Man Rabbuka, wa ma dinuka, wa man nabiyuka, they're going to ask you 3 hard questions. No one is going to be there to, I said it because this one said it. And then, Everybody understand this? The Prophet, he spoke to Mu'adh when? To his face. And then he asked him, was he a fatan? He never called him a fatan. A word of a difference. So the tarbiyah and the proper understanding of dawah is essential today. Everybody understand this? Everybody clear on this or not? And once more, the constitution of your dawah is to be nothing more than the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ as a starting point. What the ulama say in explanation, how the Salaf al-Salih implemented, so on and so forth, as a whole or a majority. But the starting point of my dawah is what? Bukhari, Muslim, Abu Dawud, Tirmidhi, Nasai, Ibn Majah, Musnad Ahmed, Muwatta Malik. That's the foundation. Is the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. What he did and what he what? Didn't do. How he dealt with the situations. Everybody got this or not? Khairun, inshallah. So this teaches us that the Prophet ﷺ, whenever it was a problem, he addressed the problem. And he didn't make the problem worse than what it actually was. He said it to his face. And also it shows us that he gave him a what? Solution. He didn't just take something out and then leave it void. You did something wrong, now you need to fix it. And this is how you fix it. This is extremely important with regards to parents and children. Son, that's wrong. Okay, how to do it? I don't know. Don't ask me. I don't have all the answers. What do you want me to do? Or you tell your wife, don't make the food like that. No. Okay, how would you like your food? You figure it out. Everybody understand this? Or your student, you don't recite it like this. You have to teach them what? How to do it. I didn't say nothing about Khalid, huh? Everybody clear on this or not? Everybody understand this? Play it. And we explained this many what? Many times before. Another fiqh issue we take from this hadith is the permissibility or the impermissibility to have different intentions between the imam and the ma'moom. The imam and the one behind the imam. Is it permissible to have what? Different what? Intentions. Everybody understand this? This hadith is a proof for those who say what?
That it's permissible to lead the salat and have a different intention.
Let's read what Nawawi says. And this is a very practical issue when you're in the airport. Somebody's making a salat, you come in late to the masjid, you're traveling. Naam. Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala, he says regarding this issue in Sahih Muslim, Bismillah. في هذا الحديث جواز الصلاة المفترض خلف المتنفل. He says in this hadith is a proof, and it's the permissibility for one who has the niyyah, the intention of fard, to pray behind someone who has the intention for nafil. The people of Mu'adh, they had the intention of what? Fard, without a question. They were making what? Isha. And Mu'adh was making what? Nafil. 4 extra rak'ah. Are you clear on this or not? No, he says لأن معاذ كان يصلي الفريضة مع رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. He says here, that's because Mu'adh made the faridah with the Messenger of Allah. فيسقط فرضه ثم يصلي مرة ثانية بقومه هي له تطوع ولهم فريضة. So when he made Isha with the Prophet ﷺ, he was now exempt from what? The fard. Fard was done. And he would lead the people in the what? Isha. And it was for them fard. For him it was nafil. Making Isha twice. But it actually wasn't the actual what? Isha. He says, وَقَدْ جَاءَ هَكَذَا مُصَرَّحًا بِهِ فِي غَيْرِ مُسْلِمٍ وَهَذَا جَائِزٌ عِنْدَ الشَّافِعِي رحمه الله تعالى وآخرين. And it is mentioned specifically like this in other versions outside of Sahih Muslim, in which the narrators specifically say that Mu'adh made what? The fard with Rasul and the what? Nafil with his people. Because someone can argue this point. They can say that Mu'adh made what? No, that's not even going to come up. There's no 2 faridas in the day or the night. There's no difference of opinion on that. They're going to make the argument with what? No. No, not 2 nafil. You got to make a fard in the day, akhi. That Mu'adh made what with the messenger? Nafil.
Oh, no. Okay.
And he made with his people? Fard. The argument can be what? Made. That Mu'adh prayed nafil with the Prophet for the extra blessings, and then made what? Fard with his people. Because he was the actual imam. That argument can be what? Made. Whether it's the strongest argument or not. The asl, they're going to say, why would Mu'adh do without making the obligatory salat with no brainer, as you would say. But the point is that the argument can be what? Can be made. So Nawawi said outside of Sahih Muslim, there's a version of this hadith that clearly what? States that it was fard with the Rasul and what? And this says the madhab of Imam al-Shafi'i rahimahullah, that is permissible, and other scholars as well. ولم يجوز ربيعة ومالك وأبو حنيفة رضي الله عنهم والكوفيون. He says as far as Rabi'ah, there was a man who was alive during the time of Imam Malik named Rabi'at al-Ra'i. He's a great alim, a great faqih as well. Also Imam Malik and also Abu Hanifa, radiallahu anhum, and the rest of the Kufi scholars, they're all against Shafi'i and others. He says, then they say no, that this cannot be done. This cannot be what? This cannot be done. So here, Shafi'i, hypothetically speaking, we have two parties, hypothetically. Shafi'i and what? The rest. No, he is not going to what? He's not going to what? Twist the blade on who? Shafi'i. You guys with me or not? He's not going to what? He's not going to go in. Shafi'i's the only one, Shadda. But perhaps one may say if it was Abu Hanifa on the other side, then it would what? Qawlun da'if. He's the only one. Whoa. The sunnah, so on and so forth. As we explained what? Before. The effects of the madhab upon someone. Even if you're not a staunch bigot, it has you some type of hesitation and delay in movement and going forward. Shafi'i. I can say nothing about Shafi'i. Everybody understands how many times we read Malik's view, Qawlun da'if. Abu Hanifa's Qawlun da'if. The sunnah is against them. The sunnah is clear. Remember we took this? Hujjatu man qal. The proof for those who say. Everybody understand this or not? We explained this before. To be mindful of this. And it also goes to show for the other people, the other madhab people. Or the other people who say they follow al-hadith, al-sunnah. They'll blast Imam Abu Hanifa. It's the Hanafi view. The Hanafi opinion. But an issue in which is only Shafi'i, they won't what? They won't blast him. Or only Malik took this view, they won't what? They won't blast him. All of the ulama say this, and Imam Ahmed says something, and they won't what? They won't dare say Imam Ahmed shadda an al-ulama, khalaf al-ijma'. That's what? Hypocritical. وَمَا أَكْثَرَ هَذَا. How abundant is this among people today? Everybody understand this? What is your proof? What is your logic? It's a bad view because of the numbers, 99% of them here, or the dalil and the science. This is the hadith, this is the principle, this is the qaida, this is the usul, this is how we extract it. What you gotta pick what you want, who you want to be with. Everybody understand this? Are you with democracy or the truth? Everybody understand this? If you choose to be with democracy in fiqh, that's okay. But you need to do what? Be consistent. And don't blast Abu Hanifa for something and then turn a blind eye against another alim. Ibn Taymiyyah is the only one who said this. Ibn Taymiyyah, Ibn Qayyim. That's okay. That's acceptable though. Abu Hanifa is what? The Hanafis. Hanafis always bid'ah. Hanafis always on something crazy. Hanafis always against all of the other ulama. Everybody got this or not? Based off what we read, listen to how carefully he worded it as well. He says here, listen carefully. He says, وَهَذَا جَائِزٌ إِنْ الشَّافِعِي وَآخَرِينَ. He says this is permissible according to Shafi'i and what? Others. Who are the others? Al-Muhim is what? It's just not what? Shafi'i. Don't single out what? Shafi'i. Everybody got this or not? We exposed this as well. طيب. He says, they say, ومنهم من تعو, he says here, وتأول حديث معاذ رضي الله عنه على أنه كان يصلي مع النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم تنفلا. Some of them, the proof that they use against this hadith is that the Mu'adh made nafal with the Rasul. He says, وَمِنْهُ مَنْ تَأَوَّلُوا عَلَى أَنَّهُ لَمْ يَعْلَمْ بِهِ النَّبِيُّ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وسلم. And others, they say that the Prophet didn't what?
No.
Didn't know about it. That whether Mu'adh made the fard to him or not. Either or, he didn't what? Know about it. So they say that yes, Mu'adh made the fard with who? The Prophet. And he made nafal with his what? People. And the people had the intention of what? Fard. But they say Muhammad didn't what? Acknowledge it. Muhammad didn't what? Acknowledge it. It's a proof only when Muhammad what? Acknowledges it. Acknowledges it. And it isn't a proof if Muhammad didn't what? Acknowledge it. Hypothetically. He says, وَمِنْهُ مَنْ قَالَ حَدِيثُ مُعَاذ كَانَ فِي أَوَّلِ الْأَمْرِ ثُمَّ نُسِخَ. He says, and another interpretation is what? Is that Mu'adh radiallahu anhu, he did this in the beginning of the time. Then later on the ruling was what? Changed. It was abrogated. It was cancelled. Everybody understand this? He says, وَكُلُّ هَذِهِ التَّأْوِيلَاتِ دَعَاوِي لَا أَصْلَ لَهَا. Listen to this. فَلَا يُتْرَكُ ظَاهِرُ الْحَدِيثِ بِهَا. Allahu Akbar. I know he says all of these different interpretations are da'awi, baseless claims. La asla laha, have no proof. And he says, and the Zahir al-Hadith is not to be abandoned for claims. Allahu Akbar. Just take that one sentence and what? Hang that up. Have 2 chains holding that sentence up in your library. These claims have no base, and the Zahir al-Hadith is not to be what? Abandoned therefore. How many issues in which there are other interpretations and this and that, and the Zahir al-Hadith is abandoned in Shafi'i madhab? How many times? Everybody understand this? So that is the qaida. The Zahir al-Hadith, the principles, how you extract the hadith, that is the what? That's how you operate and maneuver. And this scholar and this ta'wil, but it really means this, and if it doesn't have a basis, meaning if it does have a basis, it's a different story. Other hadiths, other proofs. But if it's just ra'i, opinion, that's going against the hardcore Zahir al-Hadith, without no need, no necessity, then we don't what? This is a qaida of the fiqh of al-Hadith right here. Look how Allah put this golden truth upon the tongue of Nawawi. Everybody clear this or not? How many madhabs can live by this? Can abide by this point of constitution all of the time? And we've only read the issues of salat and tahara. Huh? How is this qaida applied to what? Allah's names and attributes. Abu Hassan Ash'ari said this, Imam Fulan said that, Qadi Iyad says this, it really doesn't mean that. And the Zahir hadith, the Prophet ﷺ is affirming something to Allah. What's the basis of saying that it's not literal, it's figurative, and it can't be this? What's the basis? Laysa kamithlihi shay. Nothing is like Allah. Allah doesn't have a body. Allah is in an immortal place. All of those statements are what? Da'awi. They're baseless claims. And the Zahir al-Hadith is not abandoned for what? Baseless claims. Everybody understand this or not? Everybody understand the importance of this one statement? This is a gem that is applicable to all aspects of Islam, let alone comparative fiqh. Let alone what? Comparative fiqh. Everybody got this or not? Write this down. This is a qaida. As the Arabs, they say, yuktabu mal aynain. They say this fact is so valuable, you could write it down with the tears from your eyes. If you had to make ink, you had no water, but you had indigo and what? Mix it and write it down. It's that what? That precious. Everybody got it or not? طيب. He says, واستدل أصحابنا وغيرهم بهذا الحديث على أنه يجوز للمأموم أن يقطع القدوة ويتم صلاته منفردا وإن لم يخرج منها. وفي هذه المسألة 3 أوجه لأصحابنا. أصح أنه يجوز لعذر ولغير عذر، والثاني لا يجوز مطلقا، والثالث يجوز لعذر ولا يجوز لغيره. النووي رحمه الله تعالى, he says, and another issue that we take from this hadith is that it's permissible for the one who's praying behind the imam to break his intention with the imam, to stop following the imam, and to finish his prayer by himself, even if he doesn't leave the prayer of the imam. We'll discuss this in the next class, hopefully, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. We've taken a lot tonight. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala surely knows best. Jazakumullahu khairan.